Hey everyone, this is Sweetman with Empowering Astrology, and this is another look at the astrology, and this is August 17th through 23rd, 2020. So it's hard to believe that we are almost to the second half of August. Time sure flies. But we are kind of coming into Leo season. We are here in the Northern Hemisphere, starting to wind down summer. We've been navigating a lot of heavy duty aspects, so I hope you all are well. Do say hi. I do see Marina. Hi. Tell me how you're doing. Tell me how you're navigating these times. Tell me what is opening for you, because something that I talked extensively about in my update last week is how do we use difficult astrology? How do we use something like Mars and Pluto, or even Mars and Jupiter, like we had a few weeks ago, to become the fuel that we need in order to make a really positive change in our lives? So I know that maybe the astrology or your own lives over the past week has put a lot of pressure on you. Maybe you've been feeling intense emotions come up, maybe something from the past, maybe something, a sadness or an anger or something, even a conflict with somebody that is a reoccurring conflict in different parts of your life. Well, hopefully, and if you're thinking, well, I didn't do this, when's my next chance? You always have a next chance. But the whole purpose of Empowering Astrology is to take something that is quite difficult and use it as the force, as the fuel to turn it into something positive. So me, as a Scorpio, I'm what's called Mars ruled, and Mars has been in this really intense configuration with Pluto. It's going to be making this intense configuration with Saturn. Am I feeling it? Absolutely. Is it what I really want to be feeling on a hot August day? No. Would I rather be out on a beach? Probably, although not quite where we are all at collectively right now. We're really having to do our work, but it can be so rewarding. So before I kind of go into that, let me just quickly reintroduce myself for those that are listening to me for the first time, whether you're listening to me on Spotify or watching me on IGTV or even watching me live here on Facebook. I'm also putting this on YouTube as well. You can watch me on all the things. And again, my name is Katie Sweetman. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I'm an astrologer and psychic medium, and I have a very holistic approach to astrology. So, I know some of you watching live are my clients. You know this firsthand. How do your birth chart, meaning this exact moment that you were born, it creates a structure. It creates an energetic structure that you could call, oh, I have Sun in Aries, or it's, oh, I have Leo rising, or I have this, I have that. That's just a way of using a symbolic language to describe something that we can't see. That's sort of the shape of you. The shape of you, not physically, the shape of you energetically. And it's something that you inhabit your whole life, and it's something that you grow and evolve and transform it. And that's why this exact moment that you're born creates this very powerful guide, this map, this house. I use a lot of metaphors in my work when I work with people to help them discover themselves, help them discover the shape of themselves, help them to discover the lessons that they came here to learn. And this is why I don't shy away from difficult astrology. I want to understand what's the narrative arc of the transformation work that we're doing. I'm a Scorpio, so for those who know anything about Scorpios, we kind of live for transformation work. But you know what? I'm Sag rising, kind of wish I was traveling at the moment, but that's kind of not where we are. I'm looking at the comments, I see some familiar faces. Hello, Maddie, hello. Janice says that the last few days have been very intense, downloads abound. Yeah, I mean, this is a force that can awaken consciousness. It can awaken our understanding of ourselves and our lives in this world. So I really want you all in your own time, think back over the last week. What has shifted? what has transformed. Maybe even look back to March at the start of the pandemic. What has shifted? What has transformed? I was kind of flipping through some pictures, and I can even physically see the difference of myself since March, and I've been using this time as kind of like the sacred time, kind of forced into it because it's kind of collective event that we're going through, and using this time to really transform some things that need to transform. So everything that I share with you is something from my own experience, and the reason it's empowering astrology is that when I was a teenager and I was learning about my own natal chart, my own birth chart, and it had all these Saturn squares, and you'd read in the old texts about Saturn square whatever, and it was terrible. I'm like, this is awful. Why would anybody want this chart? And then came this story arc where I had to discover that this is the most perfect chart for me, and so your chart is the most perfect chart for you. So yes, this is our healing and transformation work. It's something that we are always doing because we can't work on our stuff when we're kind of floating in the astral plane. We have to do it here on the earth. Just answering a kind of a comment I saw, I think it was on Instagram, because last week we had Uranus station retrograde, and I'm thinking Taurus. I'm like, I can't think of the name. Uranus stationed retrograde in Taurus, and it did that on Saturday, August 15th. And I was going, okay, if this is going to happen, whatever, potentially. And somebody said, well, I don't have anything in Taurus. Well, good for you. But let me tell you, each and every one of you, you have something. You have Taurus somewhere in your chart. Each and every one of you, you are all 12 signs. You just might be a Gemini, you might be a Scorpio, you might be a Pisces. But that's not the be and end all. You are an amalgam of all 12 signs. You have a moon sign, you have a Venus sign, Mars, Mercury, etc., etc. And that makes this very unique thumbprint. That is your energetic expression for this life. So yeah, you might not have any planets in Taurus, but that energy, that archetype is somewhere in your chart. So this is why, and as we go into this week, we still have that very Uranian awakening, transformation, make a break with the past energy still with us over, since Uranus turned retrograde on Saturday, August 15th. So go back, listen to my update last week, because I went around to each zodiac sign. I told you which part of your chart is Taurus, which part of your chart is getting an awakening. It might be your career, it might be your relationship with your health and your body, it might be your unconscious. There's something that is in the midst of a radical shift, and a radical shift that will unfold until 2025, 2026. Somebody else asked, and I didn't have a chance to comment, yes, this is an area of your life that's getting a reinvention for 5 more years, 5-6 more years. And yeah, that's a long period of time. And you're like, what's going to happen? Well, you have to do that part of your life completely differently. That's what's going to happen. This is where you have free will. You can work with this energy however you want to work with it. All you have to do is go back and look at 2010, 2011, all the way up to 2019, when Uranus was in Aries, and that part of your chart was completely reinvented, and it's going to keep happening. And then in 2025, 2026, Uranus goes into Gemini, and then for 7 years, the Gemini part of our chart gets reinvented. So time marches on. So just keep this in mind as we go into this week, August 17th through 23rd, 2020. What is still reverberating for you? What sort of, kind of gong that got rung for you? What's still shaking up? What's still unsettled? Uranus can feel like an earthquake. It can feel like a lightning strike. It can feel like that flash of awareness. And so things might be, kind of really still shifting and shaking, here as I record this on Monday. But do keep in mind, and I'm just to create some continuity from last week's update, do keep in mind that this is part of a story that's been unfolding since May of 2018 and really since March of 2019. And astrology is really beautiful in hindsight, meaning that's when we can connect all the dots. It's a little bit harder when it's happening, but this is why I try to sit us down and don't forget this weekend, even if the most mundane things happened, maybe you had a thought, is connected to March 2019, is connected to May of 2018, and connected to other points as well, just not to overwhelm you with all the things. So this week, as I record this on Monday, we're in the dark of the moon. So we're rounding out a lunar month that began on July 20th. And that lunar month opened us up through the sign of Cancer. So this was actually the second, on July 20th, this was the second Cancer new moon of this kind of zodiac calendar. It doesn't normally happen that way, but it was this kind of another need to do Cancer, do home, do family, pay attention to our living situation, pay attention to family. And even though that story is coming to a close today and throughout parts of tomorrow, it's important to reflect. It's important to reflect on what has changed since July 20th. How have we gotten our needs met since July 20th? How have we not gotten our needs met? What sort of proverbial roots have we been watering? Where have we sort of shaken things up? Maybe there's been a move. Maybe there's been a change in the home, depending on where that new moon was for you. So this is Monday is a little bit of a quiet time. It's a time to spend meditating, to reflect, since it's a Cancer lunar month that's closing out. Maybe there's a sense of nostalgia. Maybe there's a sense of looking at the past. I keep watching movies from the 80s. Maybe that's my way of doing nostalgia and past, because it's my childhood. I just watched Karate Kid for the first time maybe in 15 years. It still holds up. I want to talk more about Karate Kid when Mars goes retrograde in September, because there's a lot of insights about two different types of Mars. There's the negative Mars that destroys and domineers, and there's the positive Mars, which is very courageous and sort of overcomes this kind of battle. Anyway, so lots of reflection, lots of nostalgia, lots of past, and then we go into Tuesday, August 18th, and then we have a Leo new moon. So this Leo new moon is happening late in the sign. So Leo season has been with us since July. We're now coming to the end of Leo season this week. I'm so sorry, Leos. But this Leo new moon is this kind of last minute chance to re-nourish ourselves with the energy of individuality, creativity, self-expression, to kind of plant these new seeds, these new initiatives, these new beginnings, with things that have to do with expressing ourselves. And I won't go into the example, but I kind of talk about in other updates about the essence of who we are and how do we get in touch with the essence of who we are. And so Leo season, that was that part of this kind of discovering who we are and what is the essence of who we are, and that essence that transcends our physical being, that transcends this life, that when we, God forbid, but at one point leave this life, it's what goes with us. It's what we take with us. We don't take the cars and the homes and the material stuff. We take that essence. So this Leo new moon, it's a new beginning, and I will go through each of the 12 signs so you know what part of your life is getting that sense of renewal, new beginning. It's a new leaf, it's a new chapter. It's one that's about creativity, as I was saying before. It's also about children. Leo has a very playful, youthful, I always think of the Sun card in the tarot when I think of Leo, the Leo archetype. It's a time to play. It's not kind of coincidental that this time of year, I know this maybe is a very northern hemisphere example, but here in the northern hemisphere, August, Leo season, it's a time for holidays. It's time for vacation. It's time to shut things down, not to work, to play, to run around and be like kids, to do these kind of leisure activities, games, and what have you. So this is the time to do it. The zodiac is just the wheel of life. It just teaches us how to live life and how to kind of put things into order, because there's a natural order and there's a natural symmetry inside of astrology. So we're still sort of doing that kind of Leo energy, that Leo work as we go into September, because we'll still be in a Leo lunar month. So if you are an Aries, this part of your chart is about creativity, is about self-expression, it's about children, childlike joy, play. So this is a time for you to really kind of focus on your talents and what makes you you. Like I said, that essence of who you are. It's a time to kind of re-nourish yourself, rejuvenate yourself. It's the energy of the sun. It's the time to shine like the sun, to focus on your talents as well. Yes, we all have talents, even if we're not an artist or a performer, but there's something that we're really good at, even if it's quite quiet. And here's the thing, we're all kind of good or passionate about something, we just maybe suppress it. This is why Leo season's great to reconnect with the things that really give us passion. Side note, and this is a question I get a lot from my clients. They're like, well, how do I know what's the right way to move forward? You don't need me to tell you that. Listen to your body. Listen to your passion. What lights you up? What kind of gets that fire going? That is what's going to fuel your life. And if you don't have that, it's really hard to fuel your life. So Leo season is like, hey, don't forget about passion. Don't forget about that spark. Anyway, I was talking about Aries, but this is applicable not just to Aries, but it's applicable to everybody. Moving on to Taurus. This is a part of your chart that talks about home, family, roots, foundation. It's a time to play with family, be with family, celebrate family. If family is a complicated thing, it's a time to spend at home. And because it's a new moon, maybe you're entering a 4-week chapter where you're planning for a move, or there's some new beginning in the home environment or with the family. It's a time to really tend to your roots, and even the people that are in your closest inner circle, not just actual family, but the people who are like family. Moving on to Gemini. So this is the part of your chart that talks about voice, communication. Kind of sounds a little bit like you, Gemini. Speaking, learning, writing. So there is a bit of a resonance between Leo and Gemini, because Leo is what's called Gemini's third house, third sign, technical point for those that are learning astrology. So these are two signs that kind of get each other. So Gemini, this is time for you to kind of get in touch with that natural talent of talking, speaking, writing, communicating, learning. Travel. This might be a time when short trips are planned. Travel safely as you can. But there's a sense of restlessness at this time. And maybe if you're a writer, this is a perfect time to start a writing manuscript. Or if you can't stop learning, maybe you're starting classes. After Gemini is Cancer. So Cancer, this Leo is your money sign. So this is after you've had your birthday, Cancer. And by the way, Cancer, you are coming out of this season, your own season. I know it was a couple months ago almost at this point, but a lot of things maybe shook up. You had a solar eclipse in your sign way back on June 21st. So, maybe you've been spending the past Leo season really kind of getting your feet on solid ground, like what's going to really make you feel safe and secure right now? Well, here comes the Leo new moon. So it's a time to refocus on money, material needs, material stability, how you earn a living, the kind of roof over your head, the food in your kitchen, the kind of the basics. So when life sort of kind of shakes you a bit, you sort of need to get back to basics. So this is a time when you're really focusing on the basics of life, value, worth, resources, even your own self-worth. Cancer, Leo, happy birthday, Leo, happy belated birthday, because we're starting to get towards the end of the sign, but this is your new moon. So every birthday season you have a new moon, and that sort of is that real, I don't say it's like the real birthday, but it's like this kind of real sense of renewal. So if you are born on August 18th, kind of plus or minus a day or so, this means that you have a new moon in your solar return. So this means that the coming 12 months are very much about a new beginning, a new chapter, going into this new kind of time in your life. Is that good or bad? Of course not. It's just a new time. So for those that had a birthday before the 18th, it might be a time when you're doing a little bit more reflection. It's like a little bit more of a 12th house experience. It's more about shedding, letting go, preparing for something new. The people that are born the 18th all the way to the 22nd, it's like those people are having some like really new beginnings. Virgo. So Leo is the sign that comes right before you. And it also tells me as an astrologer that you have a lot of hidden talents. You sort of, that's not proper English. You put yourself down a little bit, you hide yourself, but deep down inside you actually have a lot of talents that maybe are just wanting to be released and let out. So this new moon gives you a chance to kind of go within and really rediscover parts of yourself that maybe you don't always see, these hidden talents, this hidden self. This is also the sign, because it's right before Virgo, that you need to sort of prepare for the coming 12 months, the coming year. So you need to sort of look out at the expanse of the previous 11 months, and it's like, what worked, what didn't, what things do you not want to bring with you into the coming year, the coming personal year. What sort of inner reflections do you have about your life, about spirituality, about looking ahead? And so it's a time to really prepare yourself for the next year. Libra. So Leo is your sign of friends, community, social network, social circle, the kind of the bigger picture, social causes, looking out towards the future. So this is a time when you're spending it with friends. You know, maybe you are making more networking connections, you know, especially those that help your professional life or your professional ambitions. Maybe it's one where you're getting involved more with groups or your community. It's more of a social time, but it's also a time when you're looking outward, you're looking towards the future, you're hoping, you're dreaming, you're planning, you're sort of not quite there right before your birthday season. You're sort of coming to the end of your long journey through the zodiac. Scorpio. So Leo is your career sign. So this is the time for you to be in the spotlight. The career sign is the most public part of your chart. So this is the natural time for you to make some sort of career move, get a new job, make your public profile a little bit more visible. But it's a time for new beginnings, new chapters, renewals in your professional life. It's also a time to refocus on your goals, your ambitions. What is it that you're exactly trying to create in the world? I was finding it so ironic that Scorpio, the sign that likes to be not visible, that likes to kind of be very private and stand back, and it's the sign that's the most visible in its chart, it's like the highest, is Leo, the sign that is the opposite of that. It's like, look at me. So it's a very interesting contrast in the sign. But Scorpio's 8th house is Gemini, so it knows all about kind of contrasts and differentness. But anyway, so this is a time, Scorpio, where it really is about your professional life, your public life, the responsibilities that you hold, the title, the recognition. So maybe there's a sense of being in that kind of Leo recognition, that Leo spotlight over the next 4 weeks. Sagittarius. So this Leo is your travel sign. This is a natural time of year. If we could all do this, I would be doing this. Do foreign travel, long distance journeys. There's a sense of exploration, search, truth, meaning. So this new moon is opening up to you to a chapter over the next 4 weeks where you have to sort of explore themes around faith, around meaning. What does this all mean? And Sagittarius, you're a sign that normally, or just kind of out of the box, you are so much about trying to find the truth, trying to find meaning in everything. You're a deeply philosophical sign, but this is the next 4 weeks. You have to sort of live it, stand up for your convictions, sort of show like, this is what I believe in, this is what's right, this is what's wrong. I mean, do that in a good way, of course, but it's a time when you're kind of searching out in the world. You're looking for those answers, or maybe you're teaching what you believe are those answers. Capricorn, this is the part of your chart when you have to do some really deep looking at yourself. Leo is your sign of the psyche. It's the sign of the deepest parts of you, the parts that you only reveal to somebody that you really trust. It's very vulnerable. It's about intimacy, sexuality. It's just about money and power and finance and assets and taxes and debt. But this is this 4 weeks is your natural time in your personal calendar where you have to sort of go into your personal underworld, so to speak, and then you come out when the sun goes into Virgo, when we have the Virgo moon, which will happen in September. But this is just that natural time when you have to look at yourself and look at yourself very deeply, and you have to transform. And Capricorn, you've been doing a lot of transformation work, especially over the past couple of years, especially with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in January. So what still isn't working, because Pluto is very, let's say, non-negotiable in this process. Pluto is just say, you got to do this. Pluto's been in Capricorn, by the way, since January of 2008. I know, long time. You got 3 or 4 more years of it. So do the deep inner work with this new moon. Maybe you are reaching out to a counselor or a trusted friend or somebody that can really guide you through this transformation process. Aquarius, this is the part of your chart that talks about relationships, other people, one-on-one connections. This new moon, it's a natural time in your zodiac calendar to focus on partnership. If you are single, this is a natural time when new people come in. If you are already in a relationship, it is a time when you have to nourish, like reconnect with that part of your life. It tends to be a very social time beyond anything romantic. Even if you don't want a romantic partner right now, or if that's not part of, even anything else on your radar, it's still a time to connect with other people. It's still a time to relate, even if it's a friend, even though that's another part of the zodiac for you. But you might see that it's not a solitary time right now, Aquarius, even though you are doing a lot of deep work, Aquarius, as you prepare for Saturn to go back into Aquarius in December. That is another conversation for another time. Last but not least, Pisces. So Leo is your sign of health and wellness, healing, work, projects. So this is a very sort of basics, gotta get the stuff done month for you, even though Leo's a very playful sign, a sign that likes to, kind of be creative and maybe do its own thing. But that creativity for you, Pisces, goes into your service to others. You're helping others. also your service to yourself. Make sure you are taking care of yourself, taking care of your health over the next 4 weeks, booking your checkups, seeing your massage therapist, whoever you work with. It's a time to recommit to new projects, new initiatives in your day-to-day life. So you might see some new things, kind of leaf or the page turn, so to speak, in your career, or rather in your kind of day-to-day job, or something with a colleague, something with pets. So this is what this new moon is highlighting for you over the next 4 weeks. I will also add that for the rest of this week, the sun does go into Virgo on August 22nd. So we do say goodbye, unfortunately, to Leo season. We go into Virgo season later this weekend, in fact. And I actually really like the interplay between Leo and Virgo, because you need the creativity of Leo. You need that spark, that passion, that inspiration, but you need the form of Virgo. You need the craft, you need the practice, you need the organization, you need the detail work and the diligence. Like these two signs, even though they seem so different side by side, they actually feed each other. So we're kind of going into the latter part of this week where we have to now focus on our craft. Be diligent, get organized, look at the practical details of day-to-day living. Virgo is a very grounded sign. And sometimes when I talk about Virgo, like the Virgos come out and they get very like, oh, we're more than just organization. I'm like, I know. My mom's a Virgo. I got a Saturn in Virgo, I got a North Node in Virgo. I know Virgo. But it's a sign that I deeply believe makes the world go round. And even if you're not a Virgo, you have Virgo somewhere in your chart, and that part of your life needs diligence, it needs practice, it needs ritual, it needs purity and clarity and organization. So I have a deep respect for the energy of Virgo. I think it's a little underappreciated in astrology, and it's a time of harvest, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. I always think of, the sign of the maiden with the sheaves of wheat. And anyway, so we're going into Virgo season. It's no coincidence that Virgo season is typically back to school season, at least, I'm sure that's probably around the world, but, Virgo is one of the teaching signs. So it's a time when we are sort of naturally in a line with this zodiac calendar. I will add, even though this is not happening this week, it's happening on Monday, August 24th, Mars is going to square Saturn. And if you've been paying attention to some of the things I've been talking about in previous updates, live broadcasts, or if you're listening to this on Spotify or the podcast, I've been talking about how Mars in Aries has been making this like boom, 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 what are called squares to Jupiter and Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn, and now Saturn in Capricorn. This is a bit intense. You have to understand that these three planets, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, they deal with life on a more of a bigger level, cause and effect, karma, society, and that's why, there's some big things are sort of happening right now, sort of these seismic plates. And we had this back in March when Mars was in Capricorn. Mars went into Capricorn in the middle of February, and then it went in March and went like kind of boom, boom, boom with Jupiter, with Saturn, with Pluto. So we're sort of in that energy again, just doing my due diligence as an astrologer. How do we best use this? So if you're feeling the intensities this week, if going into this weekend, Mars is square Saturn. Mars will turn retrograde, not until September 9th, but just know that we're sort of in this sort of back and forth with Mars throughout the rest of the year. Like I said at the very beginning of this live astrology look, we can do really amazing, transformative, powerful things for the world, positive things for the world with this energy. We have to harness it. And so Mars can be very fiery, it can be very hot-headed, but it needs a focus, and that's where we can use it positively. Like I was like really feeling the Mars today, but then I'm still in this process of painting one of the rooms in my apartment, and so that kind of fiery Mars energy became the very gentle, detailed, and precise, strokes of the paintbrush. So you can use this energy, give it a channel, use it positively, use it to transform. Mars squares Saturn traditionally in astrology. Saturn is considered a malefic. Mars is considered a malefic. Why? Because they have an ability to affect our sort of day-to-day life. They sort of they can affect reality. Saturn sets limits, it sets boundaries, it tells us no, it tells us when we've pushed too far, it sort of shows us the consequences of our actions. But in a positive light, we can sort of take the Saturn just wants hard work, it wants commitment, it wants balance, it wants accountability. Mars is action, Mars is courage. And how do we take the action and courage of Mars and Aries and its positive expression, bring it together with the accountability, with the authority, with the wisdom and maturity of Saturn and Capricorn and its positive facet, and give it a role? So yes, you can put this energy into a better way. It means that we all have to choose something. We have to work on something differently. So this is just something for you to think about as we go into the rest of the week, because there might be some intense energy. I'll be talking more about this in my daily updates on empoweringastrology.com or on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or, well, not Spotify, but I'm also on Spotify. But anyway, this is the look at this week's astrology of August 17th through 23rd, 2020. Again, my name is Katie Sweetman. I'm here in Brooklyn, New York. I'm an astrologer and psychic medium. You can book a consultation with me, empoweringastrology.com/booking, or you can read my updates, my horoscopes, subscribe to my newsletter. All this stuff is in the show notes, by the way, or you can just make it super simple. If you're on Instagram, you can just click the link in bio, or if you're on my website, empoweringastrology.com. But I always enjoy connecting with you and telling you about the astrology and watching all this unfold together. So thank you so much for joining me this evening for another live look at the astrology, and I will be with you next week. Bye.